Start the recording. Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for coming to this week's Shelter in Studio. I think this might be our 50th event. Kind of amazing. So this week we're very happy to have Samuel Feinstein as our guest. Sam trained formally at the North Bennett Street School program under Jeff Altpeter and Martha Kearsley. Since graduating in 2012, he's been in private practice, specializing in fine bindings, luxury clamshell boxes, new bindings in period style, and gold finishing for other binders. So we're gonna take a peek in Sam's studio. Thank you. Take it away.
Sure. Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead. I've got a couple of slides to share of my studio, my setup. Let me get that situated. There we go. So yeah, as Sarah said, I live in Chicago, graduated from North Bennett in 2012. This is my studio. This is the front room, or sorry, the main bindery room. I've got my 2 benches on either side, bunch of finishing tools on them as well. Board shear, line press and plow, book press. You know, it's not fabulous, but it's very utilitarian, which is very my style. So so yeah, here's the main room. The bench on the right side is based on the North Bennett benches. So if we have any North Bennett folks in here, you'll recognize that. Okay, yeah. So here's my primary. I don't know if it's primary. My primary bench. Up above is actually there's a binder in Chicago that when they were tearing the building down, a number of people were able to get some of the molding, and so I inherited that from Deborah Howe, or well, not inherited, she gave it to me. So there's that. Here's the other side of my bindery, secondary bench, board shear, toolbox, a few things up on the wall. And then here's my front room, which is mainly storage. I've got my brass type, I've got my leather, marble papers, all that kind of stuff. And then I also do some tool making and knife making on the side. I do have a quick print. I hardly ever use it, even for like labels on boxes, because I've already got the type set if I'm doing the binding, so I'll just make a label for the box as that's going along. And then just you know, to share a little bit of some of the work that I've done. This one I did finishing for another binder. It's a rather small book. I think it's like you know, 3-4 inches tall. This is one of the best titles that I've got on that I've done work on. It's the translation from the Latin is on the medical uses of flogging. Which I thought was very fun. And these are, you know, the Le Gasson style tools. He was a French binder in what, 17th century or so. Just absolutely astonishing work, very creative, a lot of cool stuff going on. So that was in that style. Here is a modern style binding, Natalie Goldberg, Into This World. I've got the phases of the moon. I've got the waves coming up, being pulled up by the moon on it. And then here's a little bit of detail. This is that buffalo leather that really doesn't like tooling all that much. But it's possible if you're using like a shellac layer to get a pretty decent, or at least gildable impression. And then here's, you know, this is one of my favorite bindings as well. 12 Centuries of Bookbinding used by Paul Needham. You know, this is kind of my commentary on the history of bookbinding, which is often the history of the decoration of bookbindings, which especially is the history of gold-tooled bookbindings. And even this book, which was 400 to 1600, there were quite a few plates that had gold tool bindings on it. I get it, gold tool bindings, they look good, they're fun, they're flashy. So I wanted to do a binding that the rear board is just all done in blind. So I wanted to do something where the gold really kind of like steps in and steals the show. And so that's where you get that nice dividing line in the gold, kind of bringing a modern and fancier element to it. So, yep, that's all for the slides that I've got. Obviously, you can, find me and my work on, a lot of these are up on my Instagram page, SF Bookbinding. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of PowerPoint, and then, hey, Sarah, is it still working? My computer is kind of not working at the moment.
I see you. The screen share's gone.
Okay, good. It's minimize view. Sorry, I'm not great at Zoom. Everything just disappeared for a minute and threw me off balance. Anyways, so yeah, I wanted to kind of, my bindery is just my bindery. I wanted to talk a little bit about, various things that I use in my work that, like, especially in finishing, that might be helpful. Just kind of wanted to see if I could offer up some things that might be, if not unique, then like specialized. So I'm gonna go stand over here at my bench, go through a few things that I find helpful while finishing. So if you don't mind, we can spotlight this bench view. So this here is a finisher's box. It is basically just a made up of plywood made into a box with one open side. And then this one, the first time I saw this design was at Karen Hanmer's. Jana Pullman had made one, and Karen made one to match it. So in that vein, I made this one. The inside of the top piece here is beveled, so that when the book is sitting in it.
Hey, Sam, shove it back on the bench a little bit so we can see it a little bit better.
This or this?
Push the, yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks. Okay, good. So yeah, so like I said, the inside is beveled. That allows you to get real up close to the joint here and do all of your tooling. It spins around nicely, so you can move it as you're doing your work. And then I've just got a linen tape here and some elastic from one of those, I don't know, physical therapy bands or whatever they are. And that helps give support to the underside of the book here. I also just kind of keep a couple felts in there, partly for storage and partly, just in case the book wanted to sink down and touch the bottom of this. Obviously it's wood, it's not going to do too much damage, but I just kind of like it. So there's that one. I'm going to move on to my finishing press. So I mean, it's your typical kind of finishing press, except with specific dimensions, so that, as you can see, it's nice and tall and the handles are short, so it rests, it's not necessarily going to be at the same angle on both sides, but it gives you enough space here to easily go up on, especially if you're doing frames or any kind of tooling up near the joint on the side of the book. And this was made by Keith Uram, U-R-A-M. I'm not sure if he's still making bookbinding tools or bookbinding woodworking stuff. He was also a North Bennett person through their woodworking program. And if he's still making them, I can't recommend him highly enough. So next piece is very interesting contraption. This is, there we go, a jig to tool on the inside of your book. Open it, put a little weight down, and then you can get in real close to the board here. That's because this brass piece is shaped with a bevel, so it really is able to get in there and hold it securely as you're tooling your bluers, turn-ins, whatever you like. And it is on a slight path system, so depending on the size of the spine, you can adjust this tabletop accordingly, so that the other side can come over here and be nice and supported. So this is actually a Frank Wiesner piece that I got from the American Academy of Bookbinding. They were selling off a few pieces of equipment that weren't really getting any use, and I was very lucky to get it. I don't know if anyone's making these at the moment, but it's a nice piece of equipment. It's a relatively simple design. You know, it's got your little I don't know, that's called like a dovetail miter or whatever. But it does allow for a good amount of it's a tight fit, so it's secure, but you can move it when you need to.
Sam?
Yeah.
Do you know if that contraption has a name?
I don't. It probably does, but I don't know the name of it. I haven't seen it in any books, especially any of the finishing books that I have or have seen. It's possible, but unfortunately, I don't know.
Okay.
Let's see. What else we got? So another fun thing that I like to use is it's just a strip of parchment, you know, about a centimeter wide. And this is good, especially for holding, you know, holding this on a spine and scoring a line. Just, you know, a little tiny little piece of parchment does a fair amount of work. You know, it's flexible enough to go with the round of the spine, but sturdy enough that you can run a bone folder alongside it without damaging the part too much. So they last a decent amount of time, and I quite like them. On the same point, this is my favorite little bone folder for scoring. You know, if I'm doing line work, it's pointed bone folder that you can get from Hewitt. It's one of their like small ones. What is it? You know, it's about 5 inches or so. And when you're scoring your lines, you want to make sure that the width of the point of the bone folder is going to be the same width as your line palette. But this is just a fun little tool that I absolutely love. In a similar vein to that and scoring, these are a fun little pair of dividers made by Brian Beidler. I think he calls these the Castiglione dividers because they were based on a design that Luigi Castiglione sent him or gave to him. I think he's probably going to be doing another batch of these soon, or at least that's what I heard recently. But basically, the nice thing about these is, I mean, they work great if you're doing a line on a board. You can just kind of use the paddle, this little flat platen, as your guide. Because otherwise, if you're using a normal pair of dividers, you have to make sure that the leg on the right side is going to be at the same height of the boards. You know, it's either got to be completely down flush with the table or up here flush with the side of the board. This just gives you a flat piece to make sure you're getting the same distance all around. This also works great if you're tooling on the edge of a board. You can just score your line in like that. Sorry. So yeah, so this is a great tool. The divider point has been dulled so that you're not marring the leather, you're not ripping or tearing it, you're just making a light impression as you go along. What else we got? In terms of glaring, when I tool with shellac glare, I'll often just glare in with a rapidograph pen. They are fantastic. This is a number 1 or 0.50 size. And this, I can use it on, you know, lines, dots, even like 8-point type, which is the smallest type that I have. This does just fine, and I'm not just sitting there with a tiny little brush and dipping each time I need to do a new dot or a new letter or anything like that. So in glaring in with shellac glare, this is really quite nice. I make my own shellac glare, and I make it so that it can flow well through these. I also use a 0.60. The number 2 is what I tend to teach with because those flow a little bit easier. The number 1 has a more tendency to kind of get stuffed up at the tip. So that's another fun little tool. And then I did, you know, let's see, how are we doing? Oh, we're doing great. Cool. So this isn't necessarily a jig or a trick or a tool or any, well, okay, fine. Technically it's a tool. One thing that I find very helpful when handling gold is, you know, let's say you've got a piece of gold over here, or you've got this big strip here, and you just want to move it. What I'll do is I'll just take the back of one of my fingernails, touch it on the side of my nose to pick up some oil on it, and then you can just kind of touch a little bit on the side of the piece of gold, move it around wherever you need it. Obviously, I don't twirl it while I'm working. And then when you're done, when you've got it where you want to, you can just take your gold knife and set it back. Handling gold can be difficult, especially when you're starting out, but once you get used to it, it's actually not too difficult. It helps if you have your own studio and you don't have people rushing by you and giving a little gust of wind. But even so, you know, you can do various things. Generally in my workshops, I have students build a little air shield, something like this. Can we see that? Yeah, we can see that. To be honest, even when I'm teaching workshops in person and I've got 8 other people in the room, I don't use it unless there's like a vent or something blowing air at me. Just, you know, once you get more and more familiar with it, it becomes less and less helpful. So let's see. Yeah, in terms of like, if you don't have a finisher's box, one thing you can do is, you know, have a cotton wool that I'll place the binding on. And then you can just slip in a metal tin, and that'll give you a nice firm surface underneath the tool. Alternatively, you have a nice clean surface here. You can just open the book like this, put a piece of binder's board over here to support the text. And then just tool using your bench as the substrate. Also, when you're tooling, you want to make sure, especially that one, your posture's good, and two, that the height of the bench is the correct height. Now my two benches, this one's a little bit lower, that one's a little bit taller. This one I generally use for most of it, because once I have my finisher's box up here and it gives me about this much height, I'm able to tool on it without having to strain my back. And that's something that I find very important is posture, and making sure that as you're doing this, you're not necessarily injuring yourself in a way that, you want to be able to do what you're doing for 8 hours a day or whatever, and not injure your body. So that's another little thing to be concerned about and think about.
Sam?
Yeah.
There's a question about the dimensions of the finishing box.
Oh, yeah. This one is about 6-7 inches tall. Yeah, so this is 6 inches tall. I have a smaller one as well. I think the top of this is something like 12. It's like 11 by 15, something like that. And you also want to make sure that you're keeping in mind that you do have these walls here. So the height of the book has to fit within those two walls. So I have this one, which works well. Sorry, I keep forgetting that the camera is focused. And then I do have a slightly smaller one. You don't need a super big box if you're doing mostly small books, but you also don't need two of the things.
And that's your shorter bench.
What's that?
That's your shorter bench?
Yeah, this is my shorter bench. I think it's like 36 inches high, something like that. So, basically you want to figure out what's going to work for you and what's not going to put extra strain on you. I tool while standing up. I know some people tool while sitting down, so that's also another consideration for me. This is about the right height. And, I'm able to kind of use my body as pressure for the tool rather than putting a whole lot of extra strain on my wrist. So, yeah. What else? What else do we got? Are there other questions?
What is this about knife making?
Oh yeah, that's just kind of a little side project, a little hobby that I picked up, especially during the pandemic. So here's one that I made the scales, or these outside part, which is just epoxy and burlap and a little bit of alcohol ink to dye it. And yeah, I mean, it's fun. I like it. I'm gonna start making some bookbinding knives, leather paring knives, just standard kind of utility function knives. Yeah, it's something that during my training at North Bennett we did a little bit, but especially when it comes to like making the scales and kind of being able to choose the different steels to be used. Yeah, it's something that I enjoy and it excites me. So.
But you're not forging blades yet?
No, not yet. I think my landlord would probably not want me to have a forge and anvil set up in here.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if anyone has questions for Sam, please chat them along now. We've got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit more about the tools that he uses for the embossing and the leather?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, depending on what it is, this here is a gouge, which is just a curved line. And then you use whatever curves that you need to build up your design. Finishing tools, just a quick thing is they're generally brass or bronze, set into a wooden handle, and then you heat them up and then make impressions on your leather. And then you can either do direct tooling, which is where you prep the surface, lay the gold leaf on, tool it, and then basically you're using a heat activated adhesive for size. And so wherever your tooled part goes, wherever your tooled impression is, the heat of the brass is going to activate that size. And so the gold will stick where you tool, and then you can remove the excess. Another kind of tooling is kind of building up your impression. So you'll do, tooling through a template. You'll tool with heat on dry leather, and then you'll add some moisture, and then tool, with a cool tool on dampened leather, and then with a heated tool on dampened leather. And then after that, you'll draw in your size. Like I was saying, with the rapidograph pen is how I generally do it when I'm doing that kind of gilding. And then you can either pick the gold leaf up on the tool itself, or you can put a little bit of Vaseline on your surface, lay the gold leaf on, and tool through it. Yeah, I think
Quick version.
Yeah. I think the earliest finishing tool that I have is from like I don't know, 1700s, mid 1700s. It's this nice little let's see if that'll. I have no idea if that's focusing,
Nope.
but
Pull it back. There you go. Meh, we had it for a sec.
well, it's a fun little memento mori with a little cherub holding an hourglass, a couple of scythes in there. Really fun, really cool tool. And then of course, my most recent tools. Here's one from Revenga, their finishing tool company in Spain. Let's see if this will focus at all.
Kind of.
Kind of. And then you can see this is fairly thick stuff, which is great because it'll hold the heat quite well. Yeah, that's like 3/8 of an inch thick.
Sam, do you teach in your studio, or are you planning to do so?
Yes and no. I've been doing some private instruction over Zoom, which has been, decent through the pandemic, especially because, the students that I have aren't necessarily located in Chicago. So, the kind of development of teaching through Zoom has been nice in that respect. I have had private instruction lessons like here in my shop, but not for a little while. And I'll shortly be trying to get together like a independent study group, multiple students via Zoom. So,
yeah. Would you recommend North Bennett Street as a bookbinding school?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I learned quite a bit during my 2 years there. Unfortunately, it is only 2 years, but it's also expensive. So that's kind of a, it's a nice thing that it's there's good and bad. You can only learn so much in 2 years, but as far as like setting down a very solid foundation, as well as kind of, you're given enough free time so that if you want to go the book repair conservation route, you can kind of direct your studies that way. For me, I spent a lot of time doing gold finishing and leather bindings because I wanted to incorporate that somehow in what I would do after graduating. So, and Jeff Altspied, the teacher there, can't speak highly enough about him. Really like solid binder, very, very skilled, and also just absolute phenomenal teacher. really understands bookbinding instruction. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I don't think we can get to any of the other questions without you pulling out all of your tools.
That would take a while. Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll have to call it. So thank you so much, Sam. And that was fun to see some things you don't see very often. So
yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. Next week we'll be chatting with Meryl Macklin. She mostly works with textiles, so we'll see what she's got to show for us. Yeah, so we'll hope to see you back then. In the next couple of weeks, we're gonna phase out the shelter in studio as we're not sheltering quite so much anymore, and this will turn into a once a month program instead of a once a week program. So, but we're gonna keep it going. So thank you all and have a great day. Bye.
Bye.